Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Weeb from the Winnipeg Free Press. Together, we are Kenny and Renny. This is the Kenny and Renny post-game show. After a game that I'm trying to think if there's a game that has happened since the beginning of the Bones era, from the Rick Bowness era, that the Jets may have performed worse. I'm thinking there's one in there, one or two, maybe three. I don't know. I can't think of one like off the top of my head that I look and I say, yeah, okay, that one was clearly worse than that one. Let's hop into the old 2007 Toyota Yaris and vent on this one. I think it's cold back in Winnipeg, so I'll crank the heat. Yaris heats up pretty quick. And let's go on the Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent opening drive and have a little chat about this one, because there needs to be some venting done in this situation. To me, that game was not even close at any point. It was the Buffalo Sabres were so much better than the Winnipeg Jets in that game that there was a point at which, I think you get a closed door meeting at the end of that game. Sometimes I think closed door meetings happen in almost every case when a team feels like it's, someone in the room can ask themselves, their teammates, whoever else, where's the pride? Like, there's a point in that third period where I watched the Buffalo Sabres and I saw them, essentially taking the puck out of their own zone at will, outscoring the Winnipeg Jets, moving on them without any fear at all. And then in the offensive zone, kind of, I've been on the ice before where the other team is clearly way better than you, and that you're almost basically outclassed, right? And you're sitting there and you're defending, and you're kind of just picking a spot to defend, and you're just watching as the puck gets moved around you. And you just kind of feel like there's nothing that you can do about it. That's what it looked like to me. Like, Winnipeg Jets have gone from this insane pressure team last season to this team that just absolutely is just not anywhere near on time in almost any spot on the ice. I mean, if there were a conversation to be had, and we've been talking about it on this show, and I think it was said on the broadcast tonight, I couldn't hear. I saw the whole game. I was on the plane. I just got to the hotel now. I think it was said on the Prime broadcast that the Jets the game was too fast for the Jets on this night. Good for the Prime broadcast to say that, because I don't think it's been said a lot during Jets games this year. And I'm always kind of, interested in seeing how, a new broadcaster will handle a situation where they'll tell you, well, this isn't the Winnipeg Jets. We know what the Winnipeg Jets are. Don't worry, folks. Everything is going to be fine. This is something that we've been talking about for a long time on this show, a long time. The speed of the Winnipeg Jets. I know we've been talking about this since about game 10. So we're 15 games in, approaching a quarter of a season that we've been talking about this. And you've been looking for chances for the Winnipeg Jets to prove people like me wrong. People who are saying, and I've said this before, I said it earlier on, Ken and I disagreed on this. I don't think the Winnipeg Jets, as currently constructed, could play the brand of hockey that they're trying to play. They're trying to be who they were last year. I don't think that they can play that brand of hockey with the roster as it is currently constructed. That's my take on it. It's been my take on it for a long time. The Winnipeg Jets have done nothing to prove me wrong or to make me look like I don't know what I'm talking about. And I know I said in the last show, and I think I'm right about that, like, you just can't compare this team to the team last year. You have to take them on their own merits and just approach this and say, folks, last year, that was great. Hang up, your own little mini President's Trophy banner in your house. Remember that one. It's going to be a season you remember for the rest of your lives as fans. And just approach this as though it's an entirely different team, because you can't expect them to do or be what they were last year, because this roster, I don't think, said it before, they're doing nothing to prove me wrong, isn't capable of doing that. But I will go back just a little bit in time because I want to say, we're proud when we get things right on this show and where we give you analysis and when we do it and it looks like it's right and we do it a long time ago. Your boy Renny said to you over and over the last couple of years, the last number of years, everyone would ask what makes the Winnipeg Jets so good. And I'd said time and time again, it's the system. The Winnipeg Jets system is its superpower. And if you ever needed evidence of that, this is it. Because I was thinking about this on the plane in here, and I don't know why I got this image in my head, but of knights in shining armor battling and what would make them good. And the Winnipeg Jets system was its shining, impenetrable armor that it had. And while you take a look at the Winnipeg Jets roster and you don't think there's a ton of scorers on the team, outside the top line, they did a good job, getting offensive. And I think what you had was, a knight with just the best armor that was put on the right way. And though not the sharpest swordsman, the Jets were that knight that would, go on offense and kind of bully and push and bowl you over, put you into a situation where you were vulnerable, and then they could use the sword on you. They could do that because the Winnipeg Jets had the most impenetrable armor of any other team. That was their system. What you're seeing right now is a team that's not wearing any armor. That system that we talked about, I texted to Ken, it is shattered on the floor in 1,000 pieces. There was not a hint of their system at play in that game. It was a team that sat back and tried to adjust to the Buffalo Sabres speed and was incapable of doing it. And now you're left with a knight with no armor and nothing but their sword. And you know what? As I've said it, this is not a team. There's a lot of people who are dashing, dueling swordsmen. There's a lot of teams like that. And their sword work is so unbelievable that they can win games even without the armor on because they're fast and they're quick and they're lethal with that sword, which is their offense. Clearly, the Winnipeg Jets don't have that. Definitely don't have it out of the top line at this moment. The second line scoring is absolutely non-existent. But if you needed evidence about the superpower of the Jets being their system, we said it last year, and we were right about this. Not to pat Barry Horowitz myself. I know this. I just take this a little more seriously. We talked about the Winnipeg Jets playing the St. Louis Blues. I said the concern with the St. Louis Blues is they had a brilliant coach who is good at cracking systems, and if he cracked the Winnipeg Jets system, everything changes. And they did. When the Winnipeg Jets system was broken, they got pummeled last year by the St. Louis Blues. When the system is not in place, the Winnipeg Jets are not a team that can pull out the sword and beat you with just the sword. When the armor falls off, they're just not there. And what you're seeing this year is a team that last year, they were dependent on the system. When the system got broken, it put them in danger as the number 1 seed against the 16th seed in the playoffs last year. What you're seeing right now is the Winnipeg Jets. I'd said it before. It's their superpower. Superman has been handed a giant block of kryptonite right now, and that kryptonite is their system being neutralized, my opinion, through the speed that is not there to execute the system as they need it. And if there was ever a game in which the Winnipeg Jets looked like they could not get to their system because of their speed, they got outskated, I thought, hands down on this night. And that's what that looks like. They look like, hey, if you're a knight and suddenly you don't have your armor, suddenly you start to doubt yourself. Suddenly you start to look a little bit unconfident. The Winnipeg Jets team looks to me like a team that is being asked to play a system that they don't believe they can play, or as they are currently constructed, if they did play it, they don't think that they can play it to a degree that they can win. I saw a team losing faith tonight, and I wonder where it takes them from here. That's my take on the whole thing. Before we do bring in Kenny, I want to talk about the the people at Toyota. I know that November's over, but the folks down at Jim Pattison Toyota are the people that you want to go see. Go check them out for a test drive. Any kind of vehicle that you're looking for down there, and they always have deals on the go. We'll be talking more about that as December wears on. All right, time to bring in the man with the best music in the business, folks. Maybe he's got a rosier outlook. Here comes Kenny. Thanks for your patience. If you could throw up the Jim Pattison logo again, I botched that one. Finding the right vehicle can feel like a big decision, but the team at Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent make it easy. They'll help you find the perfect fit from their wide selection of new and pre-owned Toyotas, all backed by great service and honest advice. So if you're ready for something new, which Renny is going to be ready for something new next year, stop by Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent or start your search online at jptoyotaregent.com. Ken, neither you and I looking like the kind of Vittorio Rossi man. You're looking like a guy who probably has a great golf story. I'm hoping you do. We need a little sunshine on this podcast today. But one thing that we are not doing is living the lives of Vittorio Rossi men. You've seen us live it before, though, folks, and it's a good life. So if you want that good life for yourself, head on down to Vittorio Rossi on Court and walk and loudly proclaim Kenny and Renny sent you. Ask for Frankie and the boys, and they will do you up right. Ken, wow. I mean, I think from our texts, you and I think slightly differently on this game. Don't know how much of a silver lining you can find in this cloud.
No silver here. No gold, no silver. Frankincense, myrrh, I'm not sure, but boy, that was futile, I think is the word that I chose. My issue is with the effort, Sean. This is not a team playing with any urgency, and I'm here to tell you, if you're the Jets, you need to show some urgency, Sean. This is not what winning hockey looks like, and I understand that no one wants to show that they're flipping out or whatever else, but I don't like, again, the Jets said all the right things in the morning, fine, but I just don't see them playing with enough urgency, and that's a big problem. This is a team that, we spent all off season talking about how this team loves each other. Everyone, has such high expectations and standards, but Sean, this is simple to me. They are not, we were talking about Stamkos the other night. The Jets are not holding themselves accountable or holding themselves to any standard. I'm with you. You can't compare it to last year. It was never, this is why we spent a lot of time last year saying 15-1 was the anomaly. Sean, 15-1 is the anomaly. The Jets are not going to win every game, even though it looks like 15 out of 16. And that's what they had, and that's what they earned, and that's what they deserved. This team is not playing anywhere near the level required to be a contender. Right now, they're not a playoff team. And Sean, I wanted to give them a little bit longer runway than you did, but I am 100% with you. I'm not saying the Jets are cooked, and neither are you, but they can't effectively play the system with the roster as currently constructed. And that means one of two things. Either Kevin Cheveldayoff has to go out and acquire a few players that can, or the Jets are going to have to give some other players an opportunity to see if they can do that. And we suggested one of them the other day, and you suggested David Gustafsson. For me, and again, this is no Barry Horowitz situation either, Sean, but I don't want people to think this is hindsight being 2020. I told you at the end of the last show, I wanted the Jets to put Cole Koepke into the game and Elias Solomonson because of the speed element. And today the Jets were nowhere near the speed element. And again, I'm not saying that those guys changed the score from 5-1, but they play for a team struggling to play with speed. You got to play your fastest guys for me, Sean. So
I want to counter before you move on from that.
sure.
And my counter to that is if you're the Winnipeg Jets and you've lost 4 straight games and you take and you put in Luke Shen and you say that you're going to win in this manner of being like gritty and, up your compete level and all those kind of things. And you believe that that's how you end up winning that game. Like, I guess what I'm saying, Ken, is if they put in Koepke and Solomonson and they still lose this game, then now if you are the head coach, you are open to the criticism that comes with you finally get a win and then you switch up the lineup. Like the golden rule, and I know what you're saying. You're saying, forget the golden rule. Move on from the golden rule. Do what you think you need to do to win. But if he loses this game, he opens himself not only to the criticism of people like you and I and other people who say, what's he doing tinkering with the first win that they get in how long? But more than that, Ken, you tinker with the dynamic in the room where guys get taken out of the lineup and they're like, wait a minute, I brought you a win last game and now you're taking me out of the lineup. No wonder this happened here tonight. Like I golden rules kind of exist for a reason. And I know that it's not unthinkable to switch up the lineup. I just think that the Winnipeg Jets are a fragile team right now. And let's be honest with ourselves. The last game that they won was a game where it looks good, 5-2 when it's all said and done. It's a game where they got pushed to the limit by the last place team in the NHL, right? And so this isn't a team that can be, playing fast and loose and doing this and making calls here and there. And I'm going to do this because this is going to work out. Because in my opinion, Ken, especially what I saw tonight, there's a lot of doubt in that Winnipeg Jets room right now. And I think the last thing you can do if you're Scott Arniel is take a chance like that, it not work out, because then I think that just further sows the seeds of doubt. I think right now you've got a coach that's trying to convince its players to keep going, because I think as the coach, you keep doing this, it's going to work. I think, Ken, we're seeing doubt from the players themselves that what they are doing and the work level that they've been putting into it is going to work. And that's why you're seeing stuff like that first goal in which you've got players on your top line who are not getting back on time on their back checks. That's a problem.
Well, I mean, I just would say this. I mean, are the Nashville Predators a young and fast team?
Yeah, no, not at all.
Okay, so that's why I suggested a lineup for a young and fast team. That's why I'm saying it. I mean, I understand why the golden rule is in place.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
I just don't think that it applied in this case.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that if they don't win that game, even with that, I think questions start coming, because they said, well, what are we? Because let's be honest with ourselves. Do we really think Solomonson and Koepke speed this team up that much that all of a sudden they're like they were last year? I don't think they do. So last game, you made it through because you got tough and gritty and you upped the compete level. And so now it's like, well, what are we? Are we a fast team? Are we a compete team? Where are we? Stuck in the middle here? I just think that I am trying to acknowledge that there's risks involved with doing what you're saying, despite the fact that I agree entirely with your premise and your idea of doing it.
Okay. I mean, I don't think Scott Arniel cares about you and I asking questions about his lineup choices. I know what you're saying.
That's why I said the room. That's why I said I think it creates problems in the room potentially.
Yeah, I just don't think that those guys that would have been pulled out of the lineup. But again, to be clear, I think Shen deserved another shot at it. I mean, again, and I've got no issue with Colin Miller. I just don't think that Colin Miller has planted his stick in their flagpole in the ground and said, you can't take me out of the lineup. And neither is Solomonson. I get it. That's totally fine. And I'm not asking him to come in and be the savior. What I am asking is that right now, Sean, the Jets' fourth line is giving them not very much. So, and I understand Koepke has only 2 assists in his games. But right now, Pearson and Nyquist are not meshing with Morgan Barron. And Sean, Morgan Barron was one of the Jets' best secondary scoring options out of the gate. And now Morgan Barron has 1 assist in his last 15 games. And again, I'm not saying Cole Koepke immediately makes him a higher point producer. What I am saying is that I thought I saw some chemistry with those guys. Play a fast tempo game, up tempo game. They're both good forecheckers. So at a time when, Sean, we're talking about the Jets not being able to play their defensive system, which is 100% accurate. They also aren't turning the puck over at all offensively. That's why I think a guy like Koepke, even though he's not an offensive guy, can be disruptive. Tanner Pearson is playing hard. I'm not questioning that. Gustav Nyquist is playing hard, but right now he's not able to score his way out of this slump. And I think that, again, I understand. And then something's happened. And we talked about this with Jansen Harkins way back when, Sean. I can clearly remember a game at Edmonton against the Oilers where Harkins was a half beat behind. McDavid blew by him, scored a goal that broke up a tie game. And after that point, Sean, Jansen Harkins could not get his way out of Paul Maurice's doghouse no matter what. He couldn't. That was it for him. So I don't know if Cole Koepke's had a moment, or if Cole Koepke's, the chance that he had when he got tripped and he tried to, it looked like he should have just shot, and he tried to go backhand to the other side and got tripped and got hurt. I don't know what the play is, but to me, for a team that needs to play faster, I think you have to play your faster lineup. So that's, again, Scott O'Neill knows his team much better than you or I get it. But again, I just wanted folks to know that this isn't 2020 hindsight. I thought this after the last game. So, and again, if you're Kevin Cheveldayoff and Scott O'Neill, you have these sorts of discussions about the lineup. I don't know how much longer you can wait for some of these guys to get going, Sean. That's why I think that, again, this is not saying, I'm not trying to flip-flop here. I don't think Brad Lambert is quite ready, but he's not as far away that maybe we thought a while ago. And I'm going to just point this out. And again, I don't want to get sidetracked, but the other day we talked about it, Sean. Brad Lambert. If folks didn't see the goal the other day scored by Braden Yager, please do. This is exactly what Brad Lambert needs to do. Attack with speed through the neutral zone. Backhand sauce to the wall. He goes to the net and has a perfect net drive. Perfect. He's not involved in the goal itself other than flipping the puck to the wall, getting to the net. That's the only reason Braden Yager had the time in the slot. So Brad Lambert, keep doing that, and you might be up here sooner than you think. Chibrikov got a goal the other day, shootout goal. Those players, if they want to be up here soon, keep playing hard. The Moose are playing much better. Again, I'm not saying that the Moose recalls change what's happening with the Jets. They got to get it figured out, Sean. This whole answers to be found within, it's fine, but those players from within are not providing enough answers right now, Sean. I don't see that. Do you? Do you see them?
Oh, God, no. God, no one is stepping up to being that answer, which is why, Ken, it stood out to me so much the other day when I asked you that question about David Gustafsson.
Sure.
Because David Gustafsson...
He is available.
Well, and David Gustafsson, when given the opportunity last year, almost always jumped into the game and put his mark on the game. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. You get to a stage in the NHL where guys come in and they get that opportunity. You saw it with guys like Dominic Toninato. You saw it with AJ Axel Jonsson Fialbi. These are guys that when they got their long runway in the NHL, they kind of showed you that they were just there. They weren't, NHL players, right? Like they were those guys who were just at the very bottom of an NHL lineup or at the very kind of top of an AHL lineup. Right. And I get that David Gustafsson is that. And I get that David Gustafsson, if you gave him like a super long leash, that he's not going to be the answer long term. But one thing that he did do is he came into the lineup. He was one of the guys who pushed the system that the Jets were trying to play. He made life miserable for the opposition team. And every once in a while, he'd pop a goal when he got put in there. What he'd do at the very least is he'd give that impression on the bottom of the roster that there was competition. There's no competition at the bottom of the roster right now for the Winnipeg Jets. There's not competition on the bottom half, maybe the bottom 3/4 of the roster right now. There is no one who is saying, step aside. I'm stepping into the spotlight right now to give a hand to the top line, which is kind of carrying everything here. Yeah. That is not happening. Not anybody. And it's not, and like that goes to guys like Cole Perfetti, who have been, Cole Perfetti makes a really great play tonight. You're going to hear about him later on in the show. But at some point, Cole Perfetti is there because he was supposed to have, and we talked about it over and over, Ken. Cole Perfetti took the next step He
Right.
had taken the next step to being that guy who was a driver. I go back to that game that they played in Washington last year where he was the
Yep.
best player on the ice in a first place against first place showdown. And he seemed to figure out to go to the front of the net and make all this kind of stuff happen. Got that spark last game with a goal that, kind of the monkey off the back kind of thing. And I don't
Yep.
want to make this all about Cole Perfetti.
No, but he's got to be
Throw
better.
9 guys. Yeah, but throw 9 guys
For
into a
sure.
hat and pick a name. And I can tell you that guy
100%.
outside of the top 3, which names don't go in the hat, throw 9
Yep.
guys into a hat, pull a name out, and I can tell you that person is not doing enough
Agreed.
for the Winnipeg Jets at this stage. So so Ken, I wanted to get into something here. The Winnipeg Jets trying to give themselves the Pristine Roofing wake-up call
Yep.
with the closed-door meeting after the game. And of course, that means it's time to give North End Rick the Pristine Roofing wake-up call at 204-981-6289. He's the guy you want at your place for all your roofing, siding, and exterior needs. You can also call Pristine Roofing directly at 204-237-7663. Give your home the Pristine Roofing and Siding wake-up call, folks. You will be glad you did. Maybe the Jets will be glad they did this in this situation, a closed-door meeting. Ken,
Yep.
I was interested because it just kind of,
Yep.
live TV, this is what we do here, and sometimes thoughts pour out of your head in real time that you hadn't really thought about before. But I don't think that you have a closed-door meeting unless you feel at some point that like someone in the room can say, where's the pride? And I wonder if you saw a lack of pride in the Winnipeg Jets tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to say that because we're not in the room, but it looked that way, Sean. Again, and I don't think the Jets feel that way. They have tons of pride in their organization and the jersey and all of those things. But right now, there's no way around it. They look like a team that is in a malaise, Sean. And quite frankly, they have not earned the right to be in a malaise based on what they have accomplished to this point. Yeah, I mean, it's not good. What I will say here too, and again, just so folks don't think that it's always you and I giving shameless plugs to our own work, which we do on occasion.
We should do it all the time, Ken. I have no problem with it. It's what the people show up here for, and people will try to tear you down whenever you're wrong. So when you're right, sing it loud and proud, because that's what people come here for. And I think we do a damn good job of it.
You bet. This is stick taps for Mike McIntyre, my colleague here. Sean, he had a one-on-one with Adam Lowry this morning, and I'm not the least bit surprised Adam Lowry called a team meeting today based on what he told Mike McIntyre this morning after the skate. Check it out at winnipegfreepress.com. But Adam is sour right now, Sean. He's sour because he has an injury that has been difficult to come back from, and Adam's pissed off that the slide has happened when he's returned to the lineup. The Jets were 9-3 and cruising along. And again, I'm not saying for 1 second the Jets are not a better team with Adam Lowry in their lineup, because of course they are. But right now, Adam is trying to get up to speed, and it hasn't gone as smoothly. There have been great signs. I love the physicality at times, but he's not impacting the game the way we're used to him seeing, or to see him do. He had 16 goals last year, Sean. The offense has been tough. That line, yes, the other day we praised them. They were very good the other night. 2 goals, 1 was an empty netter. But man, it's not, tip of the spear is not happening. They're not able to, not only, and again, there's been times we talked about this forever, Sean, for the last 3 years. Sometimes those guys go into long scoring droughts, but that's okay because they're nullifying the opposition's best players. Right now, that's not happening at the same level either. So I'm glad that Adam Lowry called the meeting. I'm not surprised by it. These aren't things that happen all the time, but I'm with you. If that's what Adam Lowry or someone else was feeling, I hope they did say it, because what we've seen has not been acceptable. And again, Sean, I know you can't crack the whip all that often, but I think it was smart of Scott Arniel to say that was an embarrassing effort, because it was, Sean. You and I were texting about this too. That's one of the worst games the Jets have played, maybe in 15 seasons, but I don't want to sound like I'm over exaggerating, because those teams had no expectations in a lot of those seasons. This was one of the worst efforts we've seen. And to see what happened after they got within 3-1 with the goal from Kyle Connor after the shot by Josh Morrissey, and to give up a goal that quickly after, that just sort of sapped the life out of the visitors within the building. That's not what the Jets do. That's where you kind of start to wonder what's going on. We know the mix has been a little bit off. I just don't understand what's going on here. And you need to see more from so many people that, I think you got a flame and comfort on the board, Sean. I'm going to step back from the table here. I don't
So
I don't agree with this comment from Matt Hyman.
Says, I hope Lowry called out Comrie personally. Like
let's go through the goals,
2-on-1s, all these kind of things. And I just, I went and looked at this while I was okay. So in the last 6 games that they've lost since, so there's been 7 games since Hellebuck has been out. They won the first one 5-2. So they score 5 goals. They win a game. Hey, surprise, surprise. Of the 6 games after that, they score 5 goals in one game. They win that game. Surprise, surprise. In 3 of the remaining games, they score 1 goal or less, and they lose all 3 of those games. Now, I don't know, I didn't see the part about Connor Hellebuck picking up on his vast array of skills, a scoring touch to get the Winnipeg Jets through a situation like this right now. But the one thing about this is the Winnipeg Jets aren't just not scoring, but they're not getting shots. They're not getting the puck. They're not possessing the puck. It's all these kind of things. At some point, listen, I'm all for, and I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to say it to Matt Hyman, So I'm going to say to Matt Hyman, I don't think Comrie was great in this game. And maybe, just maybe, I've said this before, maybe this is one of those games where Connor Hellebuck saves the day. We haven't seen that from Comrie since he came in. We haven't seen it from Milic since he came in. Maybe it's one of these games where Connor Hellebuck absolutely steals the game and turns this around. We haven't seen that. So I'll give Matthew Hyman that. But at some point, if you're a team that's trying to get itself out of a slump, don't you think maybe you should go and outpossess the other team to try and win it? Don't you think you should outshoot the other team, get a bunch of shots on the board? Don't you think you should throw a whole bunch of goals into the net to show that it's not us, it's the goaltender? And here's the other thing that I wanted to say, because I think this excuse stinks and I hear it all the time. And someone's out there going to be saying it, and there's a whole bunch of people who are going to be saying it. Well, Connor Hellebuck gives Jets the confidence to go out and score. The Winnipeg Jets won a playoff series last year that Connor Hellebuck absolutely fell apart in. The Winnipeg Jets as a team went and got themselves out of the first round when Connor Hellebuck fell flat on his face in that series and was the story of the first round of the playoffs where he could not. So don't give me this BS that the Winnipeg Jets without Connor Hellebuck are this fragile team that can't get things done, because the series that they won last year, they won it. He lost it. They won it. So that's a pretty big time of the year and pretty key that they fought their way back into a game to win. And send them to the second round. So I'm not buying this kind of thing. And I said it the other day, and I know that there's other media outlets which I think is personally lazy journalism, and it's going to happen because other people around the league aren't going to be paying attention to this, and they're going to look and they're going to say, oh, Connor Hellebuck went down, and there go the Winnipeg Jets. See, it was all Connor Hellebuck. This slide started almost 2 weeks before Connor Hellebuck was out of the lineup. So, and you want to know what was plaguing them when they were on the West Coast road trip? Yeah, they couldn't score. And yeah, they couldn't beat good teams. And yeah, all the stuff that you see happening right now with the Winnipeg Jets was happening before Connor Hellebuck left. So listen, the reason why, if you want to go be lazy and say it's all Connor Hellebuck and it's all Comrie's fault, and I hope he personally poked Comrie in the chest and told him you suck and this is a big problem and all this kind of stuff. I'm not saying Comrie has been the solution. He has not been the solution. You are 1,000% right about that. But you go a long way from talking about the issues that are affecting this team and trying to solve the issues that are affecting this team if you just simply ignore what's happening out there and say it's the goalie. That's, to me, that's you're wasting everybody's time if you want to do that, because there's obvious things on display here that are at play, and trying to blame it all on the goalie, to me, is just ignoring it and coming nowhere near solving the problem.
Yeah, quickly though, I think it is sort of reinforcing the value of Connor Hellebuck again. And I'm not saying it's only goaltending by any stretch, Sean, but he's masked a lot of the mistakes, even when they were good, is part of the issue. But Matt, I didn't like the first goal, and then I watched it again. The puck is tipped by Josh Doan right in front of the net. The Norris shot doesn't look like anything, and I get it. But I went and go watch the replay. It's a lot harder to squeeze that puck after the redirection by Norris. And where's the box out on that, Sean? Where are the Jets? Why is Zucker getting there first? That's my problem there. And for those who didn't like the first Norris goal, it goes in off Dylan Samberg. And why is Dylan Samberg on the goal line where the puck goes in off his shin pad? I don't think he played it particularly well. And for those of you who think the second goal was a bad one, Bo Byram goes rooftops there, Sean. I don't know. Hellebuck's not necessarily stopping that puck. That's a perfect play on an odd man rush. So,
well, the other tricky part of that is it's the Mario Lemieux 2002 goal, right? Like the pass looks like it's going to the guy in the center ice, right? And so you as a goaltender have to respect that shot. And then I've explained it before. The brain has a bottleneck. Once you commit to the one shot, when the thought goes through, you have to complete the thought. Once the thought goes through and the muscles are triggered to react, the nervous system triggers to react, you have to go through the beginning of that movement before your brain can get you to move the next movement. And if you go and see that in slow motion, you can see there's a pause at the center of the ice where he thinks that player is going to be, and that pause leaves the top corner open, and it gets fired top corner.
Yeah, it's just a good shot. And anyways, for those who didn't see it, Scott O'Neill said Comrie will be starting Wednesday. This was a mercy pull. This wasn't he thought the Jets were, struggling because of him. But Sean, here's my other problem. When you asked about the pride thing earlier, nobody wanted that game more than Eric Comrie. Eric Comrie spent 2 years in Buffalo. He had some injury issues. He got sent back down to Rochester after signing a 2-year deal. There were some shining moments, brief as they may have been. You want to beat your former team and play well against them. They hung him out to dry in that first period. And that's part of what we're talking about here when you're wondering about how a team can let a guy like Eric Comrie down. And that it's an important game for Scott O'Neill too. Played for the Sabres, was an assistant coach with Lindy Ruff. We know the story. Alain Vigneault in New York was looking for someone on their staff. Scott O'Neill suggested Lindy Ruff. If he doesn't go to the Rangers, maybe he's not even a head coach again. So those guys are good friends, but they're also competitive. So you hate to get your ass kicked like that the way they did in a building that is important to you.
I wanted to, and I like this comment. Sorry, I'm just starting a comment for a second here so we can get to it in a little bit. Actually, I'll bring it up. We're just going to talk about this afterwards. The first thing I was going to say, though, the one thing that I noticed tonight, Ken, is the only kind of offense that the Jets were able to generate outside of Kyle Connor getting in alone that one time was point shots. That's it. That's how they score their goal. But listen, last year what the Winnipeg Jets would do when they were in grinded out games where they went down and they didn't go down too far, and they would try to grind the puck to the front of the net, and they would push and then they would throw it up top and they would score. And they scored a lot of goals last year from tips from the high slot, from the low slot. Like it was something they were extremely good at. But one of the things that makes you good at that, Ken, is if you have to respect different types of offense, right? If you're going to drive the puck out of the corner and take it hard to the front of the net and try and jam it in, if you're going to do the Scheifele top line in their small area passing that they do, if you're going to kind of be getting things off the rush, it's one of those things that when you are basically driving and trying to get to the front of the net as hard as you possibly can, and the opposition team just does not let you get there, then you say, okay, fine, throw it up top, get some shots while we're battling in the front of the net. That's going to create a lot of confusion, and tips is going to go in. It's going to get into the back of the net. You score more often like that when you are forcing the other team to defend different things. The only thing I saw that the Buffalo Sabres had to defend tonight was point shots. Kyle Connor gets in that one time. You can see there's two Sabres defensemen. He kind of gets lost, which is what Kyle Connor does so well. Just finds the soft spots in the ice. He gets in there. You better know for sure that Lindy Ruff is telling his team to not make that mistake again. It doesn't look like they do it. But to me, That's a sign. Last year, it was a sign of a team that just basically smashed itself. It's like since I've got the medieval theme going on here, it's like smashing yourself at the walls of a castle over and over and over again, right? So that everyone needs to focus on trying to keep the walls from being breached. But then you go and you take the bowmen, the archers from far away, and then you start picking away at people while everyone is battling at the city gates, and that's how maybe you can pick off enough people that you start finding a breach in the wall. Tonight, it was, to me, just an attack where the city walls were closed. No one was trying to break them down, and the archers were just throwing things from afar, hoping that something stuck. It happened once. It's not going to happen when you're trying to score 5 goals to get back there.
Yeah, no, it's just very odd. There's no second chances, and Sean, there's no handoff shifts. I mean, so that for that part of it, we saw it for a little small smidge of the Jets season, but it's been nowhere to be found. And there's just no sustained offense. There's not even any second or third chances that are happening. So, Sean, Scott O'Neill talked about as much of the progress the Jets made last year, he felt they needed to be more competitive. That's what they learned out of the playoffs. They got to be more competitive. They're far less competitive right now, and that can't be happening. It can't. I know that doesn't necessarily translate into offense, but the Jets are not winning nearly enough one-on-one battles, and that's in all 3 zones, but it's also especially true in the offensive zone.
I'm going to bring this up as our Flame and Comfort hot take here,
Sure.
where Alex99 says the Jets are far from gritty. I think this is an important point, Ken, because it goes back to what you and I were talking about before this. Is I think, and sometimes what it is if you're a coach or you are just hold on a second with that, Ken, just before I get to that. I think if you're a coach or you're a team, you got to build on wins when things aren't going good. And so what happened was they sold themselves the idea last game that they got in there, they got really gritty, and they went out and they won a really gritty game. And then because of that, Ken, you're locked kind of into that. You got to go with the next thing. I'm not disagreeing with you that the Jets needed to be faster tonight and they left fast guys out of the lineup. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I understand why the coach goes in that direction. But I think one of the reasons the coach and the team go in that direction is because they're trying to sell themselves on that last game that, hey, this is the way. Now we're turning things around. To me, it's pretty simple. Like, that's a game where I see, Nashville does the things it does to shoot itself in the foot. The Winnipeg Jets beat the last place team in the league in that last game. And I think you got to be able to look at it and say, hey, the degree of difficulty was down. It's not like that game was everything, but they're trying to sell themselves on something. And I think Alex99, I take from this that point that the Winnipeg Jets keep having these games. And if you remember the podcast that we did after the Vancouver Canucks game that they won after the tough stretch down in California. And I was looking at that game and I was saying, like, I don't know what it seems like everyone's talking like the Winnipeg Jets just totally snapped to attention and turned everything down. I didn't think they played that good of a game. I just thought the Canucks were bad in that game and the Jets beat a bad team. And so to me, I like this comment from Alex99 because I think it goes to a point that needs to be made that the Winnipeg Jets can't be kind of chasing and following the fool's gold of, well, we got gritty and we beat the Nashville Predators. It has to be more than that. And sometimes you just have to be able to look and say, like, not to like bring our confidence down, but yeah, we won that game. We still didn't perform very well. And we still could do a lot better. And yeah, we had a 3-0 lead, and the Winnipeg Jets of last year would have squeezed that team so bad they would have broke wide open and we would have beat them 7-0, not that they went up 3-0 and suddenly it was 3-2 and the Nashville Predators were running them around the rink, and then they got a lucky bounce off of a Luke Shen shot that went directly to a player in front of the net who popped it in. That's the point I take away from Alex anyway. So for that, I'm going to give Alex the Flame and Comfort hot take of the game, brought to you by Flame and Comfort, Manitoba's premier supplier of fireplaces, wood stoves, inserts, and everything hearth related. After 50 years heating up your world, Flame and Comfort has moved to 1465 St. James Street, where you will find it will be one of the most impressive showrooms in Western Canada. You don't need your hot takes to keep that warm feeling inside, folks. You can visit Flame and Comfort, and I'll tell you, they will take care of it for you. Ken, I just want to throw this idea at you. If you're the Winnipeg Jets, you need a wake up call, and this is what I think I'm seeing. What we just touched on, I think what we're seeing is the Winnipeg Jets celebrating these little victories. That I understand why a team does it, because you have to build confidence. But what I see is, like, if you're looking at this through a truly critical eye, you're even looking at the wins that they've racked up, and you're saying, yeah, even those wins don't look that good. And I think part of that is the fact that, like, I don't know when the last time was. I haven't gone back and looked, but the last time the Winnipeg Jets beat a team over the playoff line, I don't know when that was, Ken. Feels like it was a long time ago. So if you're not seeing that, I'm wondering at this stage, when you're a coach who is trying to shake that team, trying to wake it up. I read the comments by Scott Arniel after the game, and it sounds like a guy who's just like, I don't want to say out of ideas, Ken. I don't think he's out of ideas, but I think he's a guy at this stage that is truly kind of flabbergasted that after finally breaking a losing streak last game and trying to build on something, the Jets did the opposite of build. The Jets almost took it like, yeah, we won one, now we can take it off again. At this point, because someone else brought in a comment here that I was considering for hot take. This is a good comment here. I can't read the name, but last year Jets had players sitting in the press box ready to take the job away. The Jets vets seem too comfortable right now. I don't see the jump by the players coming into the lineup and being like, here's my chance, I'm taking it. It looks more of the same when guys are coming in. At this stage, Ken, and if not at this stage, very soon, does Kevin Cheveldayoff owe it to the core of this team, to the roster, to his coaching staff, to make some kind of move to potentially shake up this team and let it be known that, listen, we're not sitting back and waiting any longer for you guys to come out and give the effort that should be required. We're moving on, because I'm telling you right now, if you're not going to do it, we're going to go find someone who will.
Well, the first answer to your question is you have to go back to November 1st when the Jets beat the Pittsburgh Penguins 5-2. And no one is expecting the Pittsburgh Penguins to be a playoff team. Right now, they hold a wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. So
November 1st. So a month ago. In a month since they beat a team over the playoff line.
Yes, Columbus was close, but they weren't there. That's not good enough. And yeah, in October, for a while Philadelphia was over, but they aren't right now. Philadelphia also is technically a wild card team, so that's a playoff team.
Right.
In the West, Chicago is currently a playoff team,
and they got a win over the Islanders as well, so that's a playoff team that they beat.
The Wild are now a playoff team. They weren't at the time.
The Wild, yeah.
So they do have. And
the Islanders have fallen below the playoff line now, so that
they have now. But the Kings now are well above, but we're below. So that's why it's kind of a tough one.
It's a floating line, but I guess the point of what I'm saying is their last victory
not enough.
Against, it's not world beaters that the Winnipeg Jets are going out and beating. It's teams that are struggling themselves. Yeah.
Oh, and it's a reminder that they've got every game in the NHL is tough, Sean. We know this.
Yeah.
Their degree of difficulty is rising. They're playing Dallas soon. They've got to play Colorado.
Oh, yeah. Washington comes back.
They haven't played Vegas yet, even though Vegas has had their own issues at times. So, yeah, I mean, it's not getting any easier for this group. So, yeah, sorry. To the other question, this is where it gets dicey. Sean, I 100% think they should make a move, but here's the problem. If you're Kevin Cheveldayoff, if you want to make a move we've used Kiefer Sherwood as an example, and he's a good example because he brings a lot of the elements the Jets are lacking and looking for. The problem for that deal is that it means the Jets are probably going to have to send a first-round pick. And right now, you are in danger of being a lottery team.
Yes.
So are you willing, again, and I'm not saying there is no chance the Jets are giving up on this season, 25 games in, for all the folks that are talking about tanking and automatically being in a top 5 pick. That's a fine way to look at it at this instant. But now when you attack with one of those top 5 players next year, all of your core players are a year older. So your window is already shrinking. So that's why I'm saying this is an easy thing to say the Jets go out and get Kiefer Sherwood. Well, yeah, it's going to cost you a first round pick. And if the Jets bottom out rather than turn it around, if that pick ends up being a top 5, I'm sure it would be lottery protected. So again, whatever. I'm not trying to look for other reasoning, but that's part of the reasoning. You got to protect yourself if you're the Jets. But I agree, you can't afford to punt on this season. As bad as it has looked at times for the Jets, you can't be affording to punt a season where Mark Scheifele and Connor Hellebuck are in their age 32, 33 season. As good a job as those guys do of taking care of their bodies, you can't afford to waste a year at this point in time. But the flip side is, Sean, you want to move the 2027 first rounder and a couple prospects to try to get better. I'm 100% on board with that. And again, I think the Jets have got to upgrade the defense core. And right now there are not enough forwards that are getting the job done. And that means you got to go out and look for someone like a Kiefer Sherwood. And we know the price tag is going to be high in Vancouver. They're not going to just give him away. Everyone wants Kiefer Sherwood. That's in the hunt.
One of the conversations I had behind the scenes with someone, and when we were heading into that Nashville game, was like, if you think about it, now we take a look at Nashville and we think like what a train wreck that is. We know how it's been going. We forget that, at the beginning of last year, most people assumed, including players in the NHL, that the Nashville Predators were going to be the first place team in the Central last year, right?
Yeah.
And then they absolutely crumble and collapse and end up where they are. And you can see it's continued on. And now, even though they're starting to bring young players in, their core is clearly an older core. And it's looking rough for that team, because what do you do now? Do you sell off guys like Steve Stamkos? Steve Stamkos is something that GMs are going to want to pay for the way that he's playing right now. And all of a sudden, it looks like a really, really hard fix in Nashville because of that. Basically, that you're going to have to just keep bringing in young guys and just kind of start, like a tube of toothpaste, pushing the older stuff out as you kind of slowly push the younger guys in. But this to me is interesting because like it switched, and it switched quickly in Nashville, and it has switched quickly here in Winnipeg. And to your point, and this is the part that I find is really fascinating for the Winnipeg Jets, is there's been this, and we talked about this before, Ken, we talked about all the re-signings, and I'd said on, an case-by-case basis, it makes sense to re-sign these guys. The one concern I have is you are re-signing a hole that has not achieved what you would typically need to achieve in order to make the kind of investment the Winnipeg Jets have made in those players. And it's the last gasp. Like, there's a whole bunch of guys here who have been signed to the kind of contracts that should have them retiring as Winnipeg Jets. Now, all of a sudden that it's turned like this, to your point, the Winnipeg Jets signed those players because they said to those players, to Connor Hellebuck, to Mark Scheifele, to Kyle Connor, we will do whatever we need to do to compete here. And that's why those players stayed here, because they stayed here on the promise that their team was going to do whatever they could and give them what they needed to try to win. So now when you end up in a situation like this, it's precarious, Ken. It's extremely precarious, because what happens, to your point, is like you do need a guy like Kiefer Sherwood, and Kiefer Sherwood would cost you a first-round pick. And you know what? You probably should
sign him.
Yes, because if you're going to do this, you got to do it right now, right? You don't have to, but boy, oh boy, they could put themselves. I mean, if they don't shake themselves out of this. And to your point, Ken, the degree of difficulty is about to go up. And if we're talking 2 weeks from now about the Winnipeg Jets having won 1 or maybe 2 games over that stretch, they're going to be very, very, very close to putting themselves out of it by Christmas time. And if they do that, it's too late. So at some point, you've got to make a move. But if you are going to make the kind of moves that would fulfill that promise to those players, it's the kind of move that means you're going to bargain your future. And if you bargain your future and things don't change the way they are right now, all of a sudden by next year, unless you get a hot start, it's starting to look like what just happened to the Nashville players. And that is a hard problem to solve. You don't want to be the GM with a whole bunch of long-term signed players and you just can't seem to make it work with the team, because now what you end up doing is moving out players and you don't necessarily get what you want back. And what you do get back typically is only going to be prospects and picks, which means it's tear down city. And the Winnipeg Jets have said they don't want to do that. So the Jets find themselves in a really precarious position. And I will acknowledge that Nick Lynham talked about this in the last podcast. And I don't know if that was the Washington game or what, but he said the Winnipeg Jets are already in that position where things are like that. And I'm saying, no, they're not. They're not where Nashville was. I'm still saying that. But he is entirely right to worry that the Jets could put themselves in that position, and entirely right to say, hey, maybe, especially if they continue doing what they're doing right now, they're on the path to heading towards something like that. It's an entirely precarious position. And I honestly think this is one of those years where the typical patience that you see from Kevin Cheveldayoff is something that if they wait, they may be waiting too long and there could be problems.
And like what we're talking, just quickly, and we don't have to go deep in this. We got other things to wrap up here, but would you consider Laurent Brossoit? So a bunch of people have asked me this question too. I know it's challenging because, again, we know the relationship. These guys are all friends. They've all been, they work out together, all of these things. Would you consider Brossoit? I know he's only got he's got a 3.7, whatever it is, 3.5, 3.75, but as a stabilizer between the pipes, we're not blaming Comrie, but if you can't wait 4 weeks for Hellebuyck to be back, would you consider it?
So this is why it's a precarious position they're in. Sure. What's it going to cost you? You go get a player like that. I've got a lot of belief in Laurent Brossoit. Here's the problem. Laurent Brossoit, the last version that we saw of him, which was a really, really great goaltender whose numbers matched and, in fact, exceeded Connor Hellebuyck's in one of the years that Connor Hellebuyck won the Vezina Trophy, in a small sample size, did so behind a vaunted Winnipeg Jets system that was up and operating and was full on Jennings Trophy level that year, right? So that's the last that we saw of him. What happens if you go and you make that trade to solve a problem that I'm telling you right now, if you think that the problem is solely goaltending, you're missing the mark. So yeah, you go do Laurent Brossoit. I'm not saying it's not a bad move to go bring in a guy who could, somewhat stabilize, but the stabilizing, if he's playing behind a team that played like that tonight, Laurent Brossoit's not winning that game. Connor Hellebuyck's not winning that game. The best goaltender in the world, the Hart Trophy, is not winning that game there tonight. So this is why it is such a precarious position for the Winnipeg Jets, because I'm telling you right now, this is multi-dimensional speed that has been lost. I was chatting with some people behind this. It's to me, the first point of contact when you dump the puck in is where the Winnipeg Jets are failing most. And it's continuing all over the ice. It's not their only problem. But the Winnipeg Jets used to be able to dump the puck in, trap the puck inside, turn it over, and then churn and hold on to the puck and beat you that way. You just weren't allowed out of your own zone, so you didn't get to go down and try and score. Now the Jets have to defend more. They have to do all these kind of things. But the loss of elements like Nikolai Ehlers, Mason Appleton, you've heard me say this before, Brandon Tanev, Rasmus Kupari, AJF, for goodness sakes. Axel Jonsson-Fjällby was the guy that they could put in and would do, that first point of contact and pressure you and cram the game down your throat. The Jets have lost 5 potential players who could do that and replace them with slower players. So the fix to this, everyone wants to say, well, bring up Brad Lambert. He's fast, right? Well, Brad Lambert may be fast. Is he fast in playing a defensive system, or is he a guy that gets the puck and can beat a guy around the edge and try and score a goal, right? It's different. Those are different things. Brendan Tanev's speed in on the forecheck and the angle that he takes and how he directs that person is different than just someone skating fast down the ice. They're two different things. And what you did is you have lost a number of players that were extremely good at that, at angling the puck, at trapping guys, at getting in with speed, at taking away their space and making them make mistakes, and at the very least making sure that if they could move the puck, they could only move it into a specific direction. So for me, yes, go get Laurent Brossoit. Maybe that's going to help. Is it going to solve the problem? No, because the Jets I've said it before, still aren't capable of playing the system the way that they did last year because they don't have the speed to execute it. And they are 2, 3, probably 4 players away, in my estimation, of doing that. So it's going to take a lot of moves to pull this off. And I just don't know. You got to find that specific kind of player. So who's available? Do you go to Detroit and say, can we have Mason Appleton back? We'll take that contract. What's it going to cost to do that, right? Do you go and say, hey, things aren't really working out in Carolina for Nick Ehlers the way that they thought it was going to? Would you be interested in swinging some kind of thing? Because there goes, Braden Yeager and someone else in that situation, right? Like I don't think that you can make trades by volume to pick up the number of guys it would take to get them back to playing the system that they need to play. So for me, it's almost like you have to say, okay, what can we play in order to, like with what we have? And that's just it, Ken. We know that coaches typically don't change, and you definitely don't switch systems mid-season.
No.
So to me, this is dangerous. Because I think what the Jets will have to do, and maybe we are back to patient Chevy, is just like do the best they can with what they have. If there's stuff out there at the trade deadline, if they're still in it at the trade deadline, kind of go and get some things that you think could work in that situation. But this may be one of those things where they basically need to go into the off season and try and fix it in the off season. And the issue with that is if you think of all the little additions that they made over the years to get to that. Axel Jonsson-Fjällby comes to the team when Rick Bowness and Scott Arniel come into the team, right? Niederreiter gets picked up along the line there. Vladislav Nemesnikov gets picked up along the line there. At some point, Mason Appleton gets brought back from Seattle. Like, it took years and years and years to assemble the kind of guys that got the Winnipeg Jets playing their system to the degree they did last year. And they lost bulk 5 of those speedsters in one shot and did not replace them with that speed. This is a problem, Ken, that could take years to fix. It's not an overnight thing. And to your point, everyone gets a year older and a year older and a year older in a window that has been gambled on for players that are going to be in their mid-30s very, very soon.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I think action sooner than later makes the most sense. But again, no one is suggesting it's easy to make a deal, and you can't have a classic overpay either. But it doesn't mean guys aren't available and trades can't be made. I mean, the hockey trades are made. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Because again, I don't think the Jets can stand pat until Hellebuyck's back. And here's the other problem, Sean. This is just a minor scope. We get it. But to think that you can run in an Olympic year, you can't run Hellebuyck for the last 45 games or whatever is left. I mean, you're going to need other guys going. So they need more than just, a 3-time Vezina Trophy winner between the pipes. That doesn't solve the forward problem.
Yeah. This T. Will says it's almost like those of us that said the Jets needed to do more in the offseason were right or something weird. This isn't a do more situation. Right? Like, and I can't remember if T. Will was on that side of it, but people wanted to show Mason Appleton the door when he left.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think anyone compared that Rasmus Kupari was leaving. And I didn't hear a ton of people bemoaning Brandon Tanev leaving. And I don't think anyone shed a tear that Axel Jonsson-Fjällby was leaving. Like, all these players like that, like, guys got brought in here. It's not about doing more. They filled those roles. They chose to fill it with veterans. They chose to fit it with experience, and that hasn't worked. So it's not about them needing to do more. Like, it's that what they did, they went with the philosophy, and that philosophy is not working right now. Anyways, it clearly isn't leading to scoring. But hey, you can always score a great rate with Cambrian Credit Union. Getting a mortgage doesn't have to throw you off your game. While you focus on home sweet home, our friends at Team Cambrian Credit Union take care of the mortgage part with their low rates. Whether you're looking for a new home, renewing, or making the switch, Cambrian is your mortgage MVP. They can help make the next season of your mortgage path easier and help save you money. Now that is what we call a win. Head to cambrian.mb.ca/rates for more. Ken, you want to give Sweet Lou a shout out?
Yes, sir. For folks who have realty needs you'd like to have met, contact our main man, Lou Ferlin at Royal LePage Dynamic Realty, 204-791-9971, or at the office, 204-989-5000. His email is lou@louferlin.ca. That's Lou at LOUFURLAN.ca. Lou Ferlin, excellent realtor, excellent human being, and excellent supporter of the community, including this podcast.
All right, live TV here, Ken. I don't know if this is going to work out. I don't have the headband on hand. I think it's in my bag somewhere. I'm going to try and make this a Sean's headband version of the Kenny and Renny show.
Oh, just play the music.
It may not
anyway.
be there. It may not be there, and I don't have the. I don't have.
You don't have the mullet arena.
Yeah,
I might have the mullet arena somewhere in the
go.
In the desolate palatial estates, but I don't think I do either.
Well, here's your chance.
You told me to take one, but I don't have one.
Here's your chance, Ken, to hijack this. You could make it going forward Ken's headband. If you've got a headband there and you come back on with a headband and I don't, the idea is officially yours. So let's try to make this a Sean or maybe Ken's headband version of the Kenny and Renny show. Here we go. If you thought for a second, Kenny, I was going to let you steal this headband bit from me. You had another thing coming. It's the best thing that ever happened to me, Ken. Best thing that ever happened to Renny is Sean's headband. Just like the best thing that may ever happen to you is if you went on down to Myers Drugs and let them take care of all your pharmaceutical, your health food needs, your supplemental needs, because they will get the job done and make it absolutely easy on you. So easy that they deliver anywhere in the city. So go give them a chance. They'll make the best of it. I can guarantee that. Okay. Johnson Group got you covered. Play of the game. What do you got? There's two really good candidates in this game. Two really good candidates.
You go. I think I might have sent you one, but you go ahead.
Well, I've got the Cole Perfetti block on the empty net at a time where, the game wasn't quite out of hand, but nice play on that. And then the Alex Iafallo stick lift on the breakaway. I believe it was Josh Norris heading in trying to score the hat trick in that situation. So amongst all the things that we talked about tonight, two actual pretty darn good never give up plays by two of the depth scorers who haven't necessarily been scoring on this team. That's my Johnson Group got you covered play of the game. Ken, do you have any?
No, it's yours.
That's what we'll go with. All right. That's it. I'm taking it away. It's because I've got the headband. Ken doesn't. That's how these things work.
My kryptonite. There you go. That's my kryptonite.
Do you run a small business in Canada? You need to look to Canada's #1 employee benefits plan, Chambers Plan, to give you a competitive edge. Chambers Plan is the simple, stable, smart choice for over 30,000 businesses countrywide. Visit chamberplan.ca to learn more. And Ken, that brings us to our hashtag the keg. Save of the game. What do you got?
I was tempted to give it to Thomas Milic for the initial save on Alex Tuck, but it kind of stunned him, Sean. He didn't really get reset. I mean, we know that, guys are shooting from sharp angles all the time, and, it's a good shot by Tuck. It can't go in from there, but I got to go UPL on the shorthanded breakaway save on Kyle Connor. I know some people disagree, but I thought he froze him perfectly with the fake forehand and going to the backhand. Easy for me to say from my garage in Arizona that he should have raised it, but I thought UPL made a really good save, and that was kind of a big moment in the game still.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this up because we're talking goalies. Matt Hyman saying, Matt Hyman saying, got you covered to K&R for having Comrie's back. Just, I'm making it clear. He hasn't done the things that Connor Hellebuck has done when he's in, hasn't saved those games. But I am absolutely not going down the road of excusing what we're seeing from this team and trying to make it all about goaltending. That would be ridiculous and that would be weak. But that before that, Ken, was Ken's hashtag the keg save of the game. It doesn't matter what we think, though. It matters what you think. Share with us your hashtag the keg save of the game. And you are automatically entered to win a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg. And each of those locations finer than the last. And Ken, did you send me a hashtag the keg save of the game?
I did the other day. It's okay. You didn't use it. Darren Lowen is the winner this week.
Okay. All right. Darren Lowen. You know what to do, Darren Lowen. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your full name. Send me an email. I'll have the fine folks at the Keg send you a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine Keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg, each location finer than the last. And that is it for us on this night. Ken, anything you got to say before we go?
Yeah, happy to report. Wrapped up the Manitoba Golf Tour 2025 today at Southern Dunes, one of my favorite courses here in Maricopa. Mostly good, cruising on the back nine. Tough 18th hole with a triple bogey for 84. So coughed up a little bit of a hairball there, but it was fun to get out. And lastly, just a quick stick tap from the folks at Kenny and Renny to Brendan Dillon, who has gone from an undrafted free agent signing by the Dallas Stars to a 1,000 NHL game veteran, one of the best humans in the league. Great quote, feisty guy, and he got really emotional this morning talking to Amanda Stein from NewJerseyDevils.com when she showed him a picture of him on skates for the first time, and sort of went into how he just wanted to, do everything he could to battle for one game, and he's played a hell of a lot more than one as he reaches 1,000 and moving himself forward here. So stick taps to him for that.
Yeah, no doubt. One of the good guys in hockey, always an absolute joy to talk to. Just while you're talking golf, shout out to, and I don't think they were Kenny and Renny listeners, but when I was down at the game about to do my live hit in Nashville, some guys had waited around to chat with me, and it just didn't work out because they had to get to their seats, and the timing doesn't work with when I do my things. But ended up sitting beside them at the Tennessee Titans Jaguars game the very next day and chatting with them. And they, as a group, had gone down to Carolina to watch the game, had followed, drove over to Nashville and checked out that game. And when they were down there, Ken, they played Pinehurst.
Whoa, well done.
Yes. And so it's funny.
Which number? Number 2 is the famous one. I played number 1 last year, but number 2 is the famous one.
Well, know that I know enough to know. Wow, Pinehurst,
great property.
Played it. And anyways, so I don't think any of those guys are listeners. They definitely, because they kept saying that, like, about 3 of them just kept asking, "Are you Sean Reynolds?" And it drove my wife crazy because. Just because she already thinks my ego is too big. And man, in the moment, my head was just...
Why would you think that?
My headband just popped right off. I was wearing it and it just popped. It shot about 100 feet up into the air. But anyways, those guys had told me that. So awesome. I don't know if they watched the show, but if one of you does, make sure you tell the rest of the group. It was nice to meet you as the Tennessee Titans absolutely got waxed by the Jaguars. It was a nice day to be out and see people, and nice to chat with some Winnipeg Jets fans out in the wild. It was a good one. Okay, that's it for us. Time for us to get out of here. You'll be seeing me on Wednesday. I got to do Habs and Ottawa tomorrow night. But
nice.
Jets will be in town here, and we will be ready to do that game. If you do appreciate the conversations happening in this space, folks, I would tell you, I would hope that you would appreciate and to support our sponsors who fight to keep the conversation going in this space. For us, that's Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent, Vittorio Rossi, Pristine Roofing, Cambrian Credit Union, Sweet Lou Furlan, Myers Drugs, Flame and Comfort, the Johnston Group, the Kenny and Renny OGs, and of course, the Keg. Thank you to them. Thank you to all of you for tuning in here, folks. We will chat with you on Wednesday after another game against a speedy team. Winnipeg Jets take on the Montreal Canadiens. We'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.